I'm Megan Fraser McGrogan, the Executive Director of the Greater Utica Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Leveling Up podcast. So now we have a very special edition that we're going to be featuring for a couple weeks leading up to our Business of the Year Awards. We are going to be bringing you all of our 15 finalists for the Business of the Year Awards so you can get to know them a little bit better. We will be ultimately unveiling our winners of these awards on our special that will air on Tuesday, December 15th from 7 to 8 p.m. And that's going to be on CBS-Utica. So make sure you save the date for that special so you can find out who our 2020 Business of the Year Award recipients are. And of course, all of this is made possible by our presenting sponsor of the awards, who is Staffworks. I also would like to take a minute to remind you that we have a lot of past episodes of the Leveling Up podcast. You can find all of those episodes on greateruticachamber.org, or you can also get them wherever you listen to podcasts. So you can get the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you digest podcasts, it's available. And we would love it if you would subscribe to the show. It's a great way to catch up with all of our area businesses and organizations and make sure that you know how you can support them and also keep our business community going. So we'd encourage you to go check all of those out. Great way to cook dinner and put them on in the background, or go for a walk, get outside and listen to what's going on in the community. So today I am really excited to have, again, one of our finalists for the Business of the Year Awards. Today I have with me from the House of the Good Shepherd, Joel. So Joel, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Megan.
So Joel, tell us a little bit about your position at the House of the Good Shepherd. So what is your title? And then let us know, if nobody has ever heard of your organization, what do you guys do in our community?
All right. So I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the House of the Good Shepherd. That includes human resources, facilities, and technology. I'm relatively new to the agency. I've been with the agency for about a year and a half. I come from the Bank of New York Mellon, from an operations background. Mm-hmm. So moving into the agency was a fantastic fit for me. I was very interested in the agency because of the mission that the agency undertakes. What we do is we offer a wide array of services for children and families in the community. We have residential services, community-based services for about 400 children and families throughout the Mohawk Valley, and then all the way up to Watertown as well. So we provide child welfare, behavioral health, educational services. We're probably mostly known for foster care, but that foster care is a wide spectrum of what we do. We have children who are put into foster homes. We have children who are put into foster homes who need a little bit more help with therapeutic type of treatment. We have children who we bring onto campus for more intensive treatment. And then we also help some children who have some mental illness. So the agencies that oversee our business, the New York State Office of Children and Family Services, the Office of Mental Health, Department of Health, New York State Ed, and we're accredited by the Joint Commission. Just that state ed department, we do have a school on campus. We provide the education to the children who are living on campus, but we also have children from surrounding school districts who come in, and we have a regular full-fledged school for them.
Wow, that's great. So you guys have so many services that are important to the community. And it's nice to hear all those different aspects, because I think you're right. You know, when people might think of the House of the Good Shepherd, they might think one of those things, but, you know, holistically, you guys really do serve so many different youth in the community. So that's really good to hear. Now, Joel, tell us, how is the organization doing at this time? You know, obviously, I think the thing on everybody's mind is the pandemic, of course, right? We all think of that when we think 2020 and how people are doing, we think of that. But, you know, touch on that a little bit, but how is the organization doing outside of all that too?
Well, you know, it's been a difficult year, obviously, but I think that the agency is, I would say, in a relatively stable position. I can't say things are fantastic because there's a lot of hurdles that we've been overcoming, but we're certainly not in you know, a bad environment. It was a difficult year, but we've got a lot of government funding. We had a lot of philanthropic funding as well to help us with the COVID circumstance. The thing is, we were able to continue to provide all of our services, a little bit modified, but we were able to provide all of our services. And generally, birth parents have regular visits with their children who are in foster care. But given COVID, we couldn't bring them together physically. So we had to develop, different ways of doing things. But we were able to continue our services for the families. We were able to keep all of our employees employed. That's, I think, a big hurdle as well during COVID. We were designated, we were designated by the governor as first responders. I think that's an odd designation, but that's where we fell in. And we continued to employ all of our employees. I mean, we have the kids on campus. We have to make sure that they're being, well taken care of. You can't skip the education of kids because of the pandemic. So things are going relatively well. Still a little nervous about, some of the things that are happening. We don't know if the funding is going to be cut back or withheld, if there's going to be cash flow issues. But given some of the funding that has happened, and again, a lot of the philanthropic opportunities that we've gotten, we've been able to keep, things moving ahead strongly.
That's great. And I know we paid of course, very socially distant visit to the campus to donate some gift cards to your frontline workers through the Feed Our Frontline Families program that we did with the Community Foundation in Saranac. So it was nice to see some of your staff's faces. Of course, we stayed distant and provided them with the donation. But it was nice to see that, you have been able to keep everybody employed and your programs have continued. And, we recognize that that's so important for our community.
Yes, very much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so fun to be able to do that program, which also I should take a sidebar and say, really helped a lot of our restaurant businesses as well. So it was really a win-win that we were able to do that.
Yeah, the community had fantastic bargains during the past few months. To feed the family for $40. Yeah, that guy.
I know. Well, that's actually, it's, kind of where the idea came from because, Fred at the brewery had an idea to, be donating gift cards. And actually his idea was meals, physical meals. And then the Community Foundation came to us with a similar idea. So we said, well, we have two kind of interesting notions, both with the idea of supporting restaurants and frontline workers. And then it kind of dawned on us that, a lot of hot meals were being delivered. And so we thought this was a great way because of all these family deals that we could accomplish that with the $50. So that was really kind of where it came from. And our restaurant community was very generous too in doing those specials.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So I also want to talk to you guys about, so I know you've mentioned a couple things and my conversation with one of our other finalists yesterday, this kind of came out too, that there's so many things that you've already mentioned that are very, things to be very proud of. So is there anything in particular that you guys are proud of as an organization? Again, not necessarily related to the pandemic, but just in general, any, special programs or anything that you'd like to tell the community about?
Well, there's a lot of different things that go on inside the agency, and just like other businesses, we deal with issues on a regular basis. In October of last year, we actually had a pipe burst on the third floor of our Sunset Ave building.
Oh gosh!
It was one of those middle of the night type of scenarios. The pipe burst, it's flooding down, and you certainly don't notice until there's probably 300 or 400 gallons running through the walls and down into the main office. So we immediately put together our emergency response. We got the calls were made to the maintenance staff. The children were immediately taken to campus because we have a backup site. Unfortunately, they had to sleep in a cot for that night. But we got on top of it very quickly. It's a difficult thing. You prepare for emergencies and you have evacuations and all those things, but when you have the emergency response drills, you walk back into the building. Yeah, and you talk about what you would have done. But we actually had to put some implementation for taking care of children, continuing their living scenario, continuing their education. And making sure that everybody was safe. We didn't miss a beat. We pulled the kids out, got them into their, their secondary site. As they said, they did have to sleep on a cot one night, but we had them in beds within 2 nights. We ramped up at one of our buildings, which was being renovated. We quickly moved everything around so that they could be accommodated inside that building.
Wow.
And it was a pretty proud moment because it worked flawlessly. Everybody took ownership. Everybody got all those things, everything done that they needed to get done. And it worked like clockwork. So very, very proud of that.
That's so cool. And that's, well, I mean, it's funny to use the word cool to describe it, but it really is because, like you said, you spend all this time preparing for this stuff. And I think even with COVID, people have been in that scenario too, right? Like I know with the chamber, with our accreditation, we had disaster plans in place, should the office need to shut down. And while we were doing it, I was thinking, well, why would we ever need to do that?
Exactly.
Here we are. And we're looking at, okay, well, these files have to be secured on a jump drive and these have to be secured here. And you're like, wow, this actually is happening. And it is, I imagine, like you said, a very proud moment to see your whole team come together to actually execute a plan that was well laid in place.
And, again, the COVID scenario is, another thing that we worked through, but I'm sure everybody went through the same thing. Ramping up with your emergency plans or your response plans are pretty prescribed until the information changes. We were getting information, we were getting misinformation, we were getting guidance, and then it was being changed. So through that experience, I'm sure as all the businesses out there, trying to accommodate those changes, trying to be nimble. We have about 370 employees, so we're not a large organization, but we have multiple campuses and multiple locations, and trying to coordinate, amongst those locations, and also trying to stay nimble and get people the most accurate information and keeping them safe, as well as protecting the children, was a very difficult scenario as well. We're definitely proud of how that was handled as well. We were in a scenario where there were a few people tangential to the agency who became infected with COVID, but trying to limit the exposure, trying to make sure that the contact tracing was done properly and people were quarantined properly, was definitely a choreography nightmare. So
yeah, a lot of balls in the air to juggle. This is probably a positive thing though, right? Being named one of the finalists for the Business of the Year award. So exciting announcement for you guys. Congratulations again on the recognition for that. So what does it mean to you guys to be a finalist? I mean, just recognizing that we have around 575 members with the chamber and a quite large, community of businesses and organizations. And now you guys are being recognized as one of the top organizations in our area. So what does that mean to the House of the Good Shepherd?
Yeah, so absolutely. The first thing I wanted to do is thank the chamber for the selection as a finalist. We know that there's a lot of nonprofits out there. We deal with them on a regular basis. We have relationships with them. So we know that there are lots of, deserving agencies out there. So we're definitely honored to have made it this far. The agency has been around for a long time, and childhood trauma has remained a constant. So we've been around since 1872, so we're about 150 years, almost 150 years. But one thing that has changed is the children receive more sophisticated care. And being integrated with the community is something which is crucial for us. So being a finalist as a Business of the Year allows us an opportunity to communicate with members, to let them know what we're doing. The better we're integrated with the community, the better outcome it is for the children and for the community. I mentioned earlier that we've had a wonderful relationship with the philanthropic community. That is absolutely rock solid. But I'm not sure if all the businesses know what we do on a regular basis. So having them become more aware of what we're looking for or what we do is phenomenal. And we're looking for the same thing that everybody else is looking for, is great partnerships with businesses and other people in the community. There is one thing else that we're looking for. We're looking for foster parents. We do. We are always on the lookout for foster parents. So if being able to discuss this with you and saying, hey, it's great opportunity for to be integrated with the community and helping out children in need. So.
Absolutely. Now that was going to kind of lead into my next question, which is how can the community be supportive of the House of the Good Shepherd? And so that kind of leads nicely into that. So talk about, so foster parents is one of them. You can either elaborate on that, or is there anything else that the community can do to be supportive? I know, it's tough with a lot of nonprofits without being able to have fundraising events right now in person. Anything along those lines that people can do to support the organization?
Absolutely. We usually have a golf event, like many, and we also have a wine tasting event. And over the years, they've both been very successful. And we appreciate everybody's involvement in those events. This year, obviously, we couldn't do either of them, so we're kind of in a bind. What we did do is a virtual event, and I want to thank everybody who was involved in the virtual event. And hopefully next year we're able to do it in person. If not, we'll probably do another virtual event. But we are actually in the middle of our Child Promise annual campaign, and an easy way to do that is if you text the word future. If you text the word future, it'll bring you to an opportunity to contribute to the Child Promise annual campaign.
Great. Okay.
So appreciate any involvement we can get from the community.
Awesome. Okay. And then Joel, one more question before we can tell people about how they can get in touch with you. What's coming up on the horizon for the House of the Good Shepherd? Any exciting projects for the future, or anything else that you'd like to share with us about the organization?
Absolutely. So there have been, as I said, a lot of changes in how we deal with the children and how we improve care for them. One of the things that we're exploring right now, but we're definitely committed to driving this forward, is called evidence-based practices. Right now we have children who are in foster care and out in families in foster care, but we also have the children who are on campus. Campus is very expensive to run campus, and obviously everybody's looking for more efficiencies. But the more important thing is we're looking for good outcomes. And evidence-based practices is the concept that if you do a certain type of treatment for a child, we can prove that will result in a good outcome.
Okay.
So we're working with some agencies over on the West Coast that have evidence-based practices, and they have very prescriptive, you need to have this many people, you need to have a contact with the family this many times, you need to make sure that the X, Y, and Z is happening. And it's a very intensive therapeutic environment for those kids. But they have proven that the outcomes for those children is better than normal foster care, and in some circumstances better than residential. So that's something we're working on, and that's something we're excited about.
Okay.
And that's something that we hope to bring to the community within the next year.
That's so awesome, and makes total sense when you think about, research and making sure, like you said, that there's the best possible scenario for these kids. And really that translates into a great and vibrant community where people can grow and develop and be proud to be members of the community. So that's so great to hear. Joel, anything else you want to tell us about before we tell everybody how they can get in touch with the House of the Good Shepherd?
Yeah, I think that just having this opportunity to reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and the businesses that are involved in the Chamber of Commerce, and letting them know a little bit about what we do is a fantastic opportunity. I welcome anybody to contact me directly, or Brian McKee, my CEO, directly, and we can certainly talk a little bit more about what we do and how we do it, and how people can help.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure people will be in touch. I know I'm inspired by all the conversation that we had today to learn more about the House of Good Shepherd. So again, tell everybody, Joel, what's the best way to get in touch, your website or any other means that you prefer people to contact you?
All right, so we've got them all. Well, I say all because I'm a man of a certain age, so there's probably new apps out there that the kids are using that I'm not even sure. But we've certainly got a website. It's changingchildrenslives.com. That is our home website, and we're also on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We have a YouTube channel, and we are on LinkedIn.
Great.
But changingchildrenslives.com is the best way to get in touch with us, and you can link it any way after that.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for being on again, Joel. And to everybody watching, make sure you guys go and check out the website, check out all their social media. Following social media, right, really goes a long way to making sure that they're out in the community and making sure that you know what they do. It's upon all of us, right, to be supportive of the community now more than ever. So we hope that you guys will go on and check out more about the House of the Good Shepherd. And of course, we hope that you'll join us on Tuesday, December 15th from 7 to 8 p.m. on CBS-Utica to watch the whole special and learn about all of our finalists and then ultimately our winners of the 2020 Business of the Year Awards presented by Staffworks. So Joel, thanks so much again. We wish the best of luck to the House of Good Shepherd, and congratulations again on your nomination.
All right. Thank you, Megan. You have a great day.
You too.